Your phone is a tool unlike anything we human beings have ever seen before. All of the world's information packed into one singular device, plus it lights up, makes sounds, tells you everything you're missing out on, cradles you to sleep every night while frying your brain with harmful blue light, all while being able to fit inside of your pocket to distract you at any given moment. And here's the thing, it doesn't take a Nobel Peace Prize winning psychologist to tell you that spending hours every day staring into the abyss that is the internet is bad for you. But until you understand why it's so hard to put your phone down, it's nearly impossible to break the cycle of phone addiction. That's why in this video, I'm going to be breaking down why your phone overuse is partially out of your control, and more importantly, how you can set your phone up in a way that actually helps you be more productive. And it's not the typical setup that you might think. But before we get to the setup, we have to ask ourselves this question. Why is it that sometimes it feels like this thing is super glued to your palm and you have no choice but to scroll through it at all hours of the day? More importantly, why do we continue to engage in mindless scrolling despite how obvious it is that it's bad for us? Well, the good news is this. It's not entirely your fault. It's not completely to blame on you being lazy or unmotivated or not knowing when to use air quotes. It is, however, due in part to something called the invisible asymmetry of power, and it's something that companies like Meta, TikTok, and even YouTube base their entire businesses around. If you think the invisible asymmetry of power sounds dark and sinister, that's because it is. But before I get into it, it might be helpful to understand and visualize what exactly the invisible asymmetry of power is, like this. Picture a magician offering to show you a card trick. You oblige. Who doesn't like a little bit of magic? However, instead of offering you a fair choice of any card, he's actually forcing you to take the card that he wants you to, all while giving the illusion of a free choice. The magician's got a plan for the rest of the trick, and in order for that plan to work, it's critical that you take the exact card that he wants you to. You, a regular citizen, have no idea. In your mind, there's 52 possible cards to take, and you've got free will over all of them. How could a dork with a deck of cards control what happens next? Side note, coincidentally, that's actually the same exact question that my parents were asking me in high school. So the trick goes like this. You take the card, memorize it, it's lost back into the deck, and then the magician proceeds to blow your mind. The trick is so amazing that you want to see another. And then another. And then another. All of a sudden, you're hooked. Trick after trick, the outcome is the same. Amazement. Yet you keep coming back for more. This, as tech ethicist Tristan Harris describes it, is the basis for the invisible asymmetry of power.
And essentially what we're experiencing with technology is an increasing asymmetry of power that's been masquerading itself as an equal or contractual relationship where the responsibility is on us.
Social media platforms like Meta, TikTok, and even YouTube give the impression of autonomy over who, what, and when we watch. But in reality, they're like magicians, deftly guiding our choices without our awareness. With billions of magicians vying for billions of people's attention, it then becomes a competition of who can captivate the longest.
In the race for attention, because there's only so much attention, companies have to get more of it by being more and more aggressive. I call it the race to the bottom of the brainstem.
It's a performance where our attention is the prize, because like magicians who see you as participants in their act, big tech sees us as valuable assets, knowing that our attention can be sold to advertisers for top dollar, as long as you keep watching. How are they able to do this though? We all know magic isn't real, just like we know that spending too much time on our phones is bad. So why do we keep coming back for more? Well, like the magician who spent years honing his craft, big tech invests billions of dollars into the design and functionality of their apps to literally sidestep biology and target the most important parts of your brain. Those persuasive design techniques like the infinite scroll, the suggested content, they're all designed specifically to ring that little dopamine bell inside of our brains, something that human beings are literally hardwired to chase after. So the answer to the question, why is our phone so hard to put down, is simple. Because there are billion-dollar supercomputers aimed directly at your brain, predicting your every move and providing you with the exact kind of satisfaction that you need. In short, it's too comfy to move. Your phone gets you, but it's at the expense of your time, and more importantly, your attention. The longer that you're hooked, the more they can sell your attention to whoever has the most money. But what does this actually mean in the context of our lives? How much damage is our phone actually doing? Sometimes it's helpful to step back and see the whole picture. Doing that becomes simple with something I like to call the phone use formula. Let me show you how it works. So the average person in their 20s spends about 3 hours every single day feeding these billion-dollar corporations their soul so that they can turn a profit on them. Multiply that average screen time by 7 and you've got how many hours per week you spend on your phone. Now multiply that number by 52, which is how many weeks there are in a year, and you've got how many hours per year you're on your phone. But it gets better. Or I guess it I guess it gets worse. Multiply the hours per year by the average life expectancy of people. Let's be gratuitous and say it's 80, depending on how many Coca-Colas you drink every single day. And this gives you the number of hours in your life that you're spending on your phone. To break this down even further, we can divide that number by the 24 hours there are in a day to see how many days in your life you're losing to your phone. Divide that days number by the 7 days you get in a week, and you can see how many weeks you're losing to your phone. Now divide the weeks number by the 52 weeks in a year, and voila. You can now see how many years you're shaving off of your life every time you scroll through TikTok. Let's just call it 10 years for the sake of round numbers. 10 years of staring into a little glass box, all while being harvested for your deepest thoughts, wants, feelings, desires, and whatever you might have sent your crush on Snapchat in the 10th grade. When you put that number in the context of the rest of your life, it really begins to paint a picture of where your time goes. But before we do that, there's other almost non-negotiable parts of our life that are inherently taking up our time. Let's say we spend an average of 7 hours per night sleeping. 7 times 365 days a year gives us 2,555 hours per year asleep. 2,555 times the 80 years that we hopefully live gives us 204,400 hours per lifetime asleep. 204,400 divided by the 24 hours in a day gives us 8,516 days per lifetime. Then 8,516 divided by 365 days a year gives us 23. That's 23 years we spend asleep. And most of us work 40-hour weeks for about 40 years of our life. So 40 hours times 52 weeks in a year gives us 2,080 work hours per year. 2,080 hours per year times the 40 years that we're working gives us 83,200 hours per work lifetime. 83,200 divided by the 24 hours there are in a day gives us 3,466 days working. 3,466 divided by the 365 days there are in a year gives us 9.5 years working. So in our life, we'll sleep for 23 years. And on top of that, we'll work for another 10 or so. Then add in the phone usage, which on average is about 10 years. That's a total of about 43 years of your life spent nearly unconscious. 43 years doing things that you don't really want to do. And keep in mind, that's on the lower end. 3 hours per day is fairly average. I've seen students in my course Antidote post screenshots of their screen time, and it's well into the 5 to 6 hours per day. Sounds crazy, right? That's because it is. So what do we do about it? Luckily, we're not completely out of options. If you can visually see how much time you're spending on your phone, where your time goes when you're working, and even use your phone to help you track your habits, your phone starts to turn from a time-sucking void into a fairly useful device. And unlike a lot of iPhone setup videos, what I'm about to show you has its foundations in mental contrasting, which is very similar to what we just did with all those numbers. That's why the first thing we need to do is audit our apps. Get rid of anything you truly don't need. If you haven't opened an app for the last few weeks, you probably don't need it, so delete it. After this, I like to do a little notification audit as well. Sometimes there's apps that you want, but really don't need to get notifications from. The idea here is to remove any and all reasons to pick up your phone throughout the day. Next comes the fun part, widgets. The two widgets I have on my phone's home screen front and center are my calendar and my to-do list. These keep my most important dates and tasks top of mind at all times. The next widget is one that I don't think gets enough attention. You see, one of the biggest productivity killers that we all struggle with is a lack of specific focus. We all know how easy it is to get sidetracked and pinball around different tasks. The solution I've found to this is actually pretty cool. I've actually started using this little toggle track widget. Toggle is an app for another video, but in short, it's an app that allows me to quickly track my time when I'm working on something I find to be productive. It has these really great summaries that are awesome for finding out how much time you spend on a particular task, and it's super easy to use. In order to start tracking, all you have to do is type in the task that you're doing and what project it's related to, which is the key ingredient that makes it such a productivity hack. By simply anchoring myself to that, I find myself being much more focused and committed to the task at hand and way less likely to pick up my phone and start scrolling mindlessly. After that, I like to put the biggest possible version of the screen time widget on the next page. In the moments where I do end up scrolling through the depths of my social media, this thing acts as a great reminder that the goal is to reduce my screen time. If I see that number getting higher and higher, I know that I'm moving in the wrong direction. Lastly, I've been getting into the habit of actually tracking my habits. These are areas of my life that I want to see improvement in, and by having an easy app on the home screen reminding me that I need to drink water or to stop biting my nails, I find myself just scrolling on my phone way less. Your phone doesn't have to be a horrifying device that metastasizes your productivity. Where our phones really shine, however, is in their ability to track what we do. Maybe this setup isn't the most alpha male Sigma grindset monk mode aesthetically pleasing, but it is one that helps you visualize, track, and even manage where your time goes. And most importantly, it makes it that much harder to make the decision to scroll through your phone mindlessly. Spend just a week beginning to visualize how you spend your time, and I guarantee you'll find it that much harder to pick up your phone for a casual scroll. If you want to learn more about how to make your phone a little more productive, I made an entire video on a system for actually getting things done using some of the tools that are already found on your phone. With all that out of the way, I hope this helped. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.